Hi everyone, my name is Abraham Daniel and I am a humanist. Yes, while I was in detention for 26 days, that was prison, my ex-wife Martina Lois, she called herself, made, I think, granted an interview, and she made a whole lot of allegation on me. And when I came out, I couldn't even listen to the video. I was told first, and yeah, it was some days ago my new wife said you better listen to it too. So I now listened to it. Initially, I never wanted to reply because it looked like just gossip and talk. But no, I said no, it is necessary. I reply. After I got some other messages, I said no, it is necessary. Now, some years ago, I read a story of a white man on a blog, and he was telling his son that Muhammad Ali was a white man, and I screenshotted that caption. I wrote about it and I said, if that white man continue with that narrative, they can alter history, alter any content, and in the next 100, 200 years, everybody will be celebrating Muhammad Ali as a white man. So and that's how it is when we distort truth, distort narratives. So when people say things that are not true and you keep quiet, if care is not taken with time, it begins to look like true. So that's why it is on that premise I am doing this, whatever you call it. I'm doing this video, and I'm going to take them in segment because it's a long, lengthy video. I wouldn't have all the time. I'm doing this because anytime anybody say anything about my past or anything, I'll just refer you to that video so that you save me the energy of repeating myself. Um, and I'll beg you to share it. I will beg you to share it. Just help me share. If you may not have the data to watch, please have data to share. I want it to get to the way the other one went viral. Let this go viral. Thank you so much. And this is part one. How I met Martina Ode. That was how I knew her then. How I met Martina Ode, marriage and early life, part one. Now I met Martina Ode in 2003 at Risco Bumpet Plaza. I had a business center where I made phone call. I sell SIM card then by old gate the Gateway Bank. If you know Gateway Bank then, now it was opposite adjacent. Sorry, Use Market. Then, if you know down the road, as if you are heading to Zone 3, there used to be a park, a motor park then, where people traveling from Benue used to alight. Now that was where she came from, and she came to my business center to make call. Now when I saw her, then I had folks around me, friends. I remember Christine Ekwe used to be there with me. I remember one of my guy called Job, another guys, but these two in particular. So I remember she coming to make phone call, and I told my guys, man, I like that girl, and I asked her, what are you here to do? She told me she came to see her aunt. Of course, it was later we discovered it was a guy, but it was nothing to us because of course it's normal. And so the day she was to leave, while she was leaving, I asked her, "Do you need anything?" She said no. Whatever, all that she came for, she got. I was shocked. First, for a young lady like that to not to request for money or ask for money, it was a shock for me. And so she traveled. She left for Benue. I gave her my number, and we started calling, talking on phone. While we were talking on phone, she was telling me about herself. I even traveled down to Benue to see her, but she was telling me about herself. Very pathetic story, though. With due respect to her, how she was born. There were three girls by, from her mother, but her mother had them for three different men. And see, this video as I'm doing it, maybe I will be advising us because at least I need to advise young people. Anytime you want to marry, please don't ignore the past. Don't mind my past. My past doesn't matter. It matters a lot. It matters a lot. Don't say no, no, it's just her past. Mm-mm. Learn to ask questions. Don't take some of these signs for granted. So she was telling me about her parental background, how her mother had three of them for three different men, and how her mother was never there, and her mother never allowed her access to her father. Her father had to sneak to even say hi to her or whatever. But the time she recognized her dad was when he was buried at his graveside. That they said, "That's your father." That was when she really saw her dad. And when I heard that story, I was so touched. And she grew up with her grandmother, and she was telling me how her uncles they used to beat her like a man. They used to see her like a brat, like you have no future, nothing about you will work. And so for her at one point she said, okay, if nothing about me will work, let me just live my life like that. So she was just living her life, and she told me how there's this young man she had to pack and stay with all we in NASCO and all of that. So when I heard that story, I was touched. I was touched. I told her, look, we all have terrible past, one way or the other, and it is now for us to make up our mind to have a better future. Anybody can have a past, but the most important thing is what and how do you want the future to look like. So I encourage her, let's get married. And when I told my parents, my dad late, my mother wasn't happy because there was a lady she wanted me to marry. The lady used to come to the house to assist and all of that. We have even gone to see her parents, to be honest with you. And but I told my mom, no, I like Martina and I want to marry her. I remember I had to invite her over to Abuja. I was living along the airport road where you have the shop right. I'm trying to get the name of the place, and when I get the name, I'll tell you. She moved in. I have my aunt with us. I never abused that lady. I never abused her. I never take advantage of her. What I did, the first thing I did was to reconcile her with her mother, because at that time, her mother denounced her like, "You are no more my child." Her mother denounced her, and she was not in touch with her father people at all. She didn't even have any relationship with them. Now the first thing I did was to talk to her mother and see how that relationship can be restored. And luckily for me, her mother was happy when they even mentioned marriage. Oh, they were happy, like, oh, so this one can even get married too. Oh, let's just let her go. And so I tried to do that, and also her father people. We went to visit, tried to meet them, and build that relationship. And that was what I did. So the marriage preparation started. As a young man, we had to move to Benue to do the marriage. When the introduction, I remember my uncle came. He came from my village to see them. But the first time I went myself, and they said, "Who are you? Your people?" and all of that. I explained I'm an Igede person, and of course, you know how the Doma speaking folks have some irritation for the Igedes, and they say, "Ah, this Igede boy, what do you do?" I told them business, and as a young boy, I was 24 then, just hustling. So they were like, what do you have and all of that. But I told them, look, I love her and I'll marry her. We can build life together. And this is my advice to you young people. Please, anytime you want to get married, watch out people that control the family. Who are the people who talk the most in that family? Like you go into a family, and it's only their women that talk all the times. Their men are literally at the background. Be careful. It's a red flag. It's a red flag. Like you enter a family, before you when the men and the women are seated, before the men we talk one, the women have talked 10. It's a major red flag. So, and that was what I noticed. The women are just dominating, flying all over. I say, who? But I say, well, she is the one I'm getting married to, so no problem. So we even during the introduction, we did introduction twice, because the grandmother insisted that we should do the introduction at her place. After I did the introduction, the father people sent a message that they do not acknowledge that introduction. So I had to now go to her father's place to do introduction. And from there, we got married, of course. getting married to Martina was tough because a young man, the demand was so high. Some I couldn't meet. We had to collaborate here and there. And, but there was one singular experience during that marriage preparation. They were all happy that she was going. I was like, what happened? And it was like nobody believed that she would get married. So wow. But for me, she's a wonderful person because engaging her, she's a nice person. So I went in. Now, one thing happened again. There was this elderly woman that the daughter in Abuja gave money to her to give to Martina. I remember I used to see this elderly woman come to the house, always hanging around to talk to Martina. And Martina would just shade me and talk to her. But I didn't know what was happening. I just ignored, mind my business. When we did the wedding and she moved into our house, to be honest with you, again, this is a public advice. I married, and the first place we moved into was my family house. I had no personal house of my own. Where I had in Abuja, we had to move um, to Otupo. So my aunt, I left that everything. The only thing I took to Abuja was my clothes. Every property I had in Abuja, I left them for her. So we started living in my family house. My dad late, so, and I'm the firstborn, and I just have one brother. So it was easy, but with the eyes of working hard so that we can move out of that place because it's not easy to as new couples to live in your father's house. So we are working hard, and so this elderly woman kept coming to the place. I noticed her until one day the woman busted and started cursing her. I said, what happened? That her daughter sent money via Martina. In those days, they don't use ATM. So you go to motor park, if you see a driver or you see people you know, that was what happened. Say her daughter sent Martina to give her money. Then Martina ate the money. Say, how? And I asked her, why? Why didn't you give this woman? And she started explaining. I started begging. We had to raise money. I had to raise money to pay that woman. That was a major red flag for me. I never knew that this lady can hide such a thing from me and deceive this poor woman. I said, well, maybe. And we moved on. Now, if you know Otupo very well, I lived, because this video will go viral. Like I said, I beg you to share. I live in Oweto, Otupo. And it used to be Amuche. It changed to Ike Street number 8. I'm giving you the accurate Ike Street number 8. Now, Martina used to have a boyfriend. The boyfriend that took her in when her mother threw her out, her grandmother they threw her out. The boyfriend's street was before my street. So it was when we got married. I noticed everybody started looking at us strangely. And I noticed, oh, she had a boyfriend that used to house her. And of course, she told me about the boyfriend, Owen Nasco, Owen Nasco and uncle then. And so I saw that people were looking at me somehow. I said, well, it's okay. But let me surprise you. It's not to sound anyhow. I married as a virgin at 24. She was 22. I married as a virgin. So people will be looking at us somehow. But I said, no problem. And we started building our lives. Started thinking of a new business to start. I was doing phone business in Abuja. So what do I start? Where do I start from here? So we started working on that. And she took in. She took in. As new couples, what do you expect? I remember when there was this young man, if you know Tubo very well, and maybe people that I grew up with may be watching these videos, and that's why I'm calling names. Godwin Apochi, he had a pharmacy like a chemist, and his son also in that same field, that same back street. And we went there for the guy to examine whether she really got pregnant. And I went to my house to bring something. When I returned back, I saw this guy half naked with my wife. When I entered, it didn't add up for me. What happened? I just to go and come. What happened? So I confronted them. The guy was explaining. The wife came because it was a sitting room they were using. The other door locked, but the wife said no, she was around and nothing happened. I said okay. But how will I leave my wife with you? You didn't even wait for me to come, and you want to check her, but you'd have waited for me. So I wasn't happy. That left a bad memory. Till date, anytime I remember that memory, it doesn't add up for me. Something, what, did anything happen? Now, my advice to young people: if you want to marry, marry who you know. Past doesn't matter. It may matter. If you want to marry, marry a lady that is brought up by her father and mother. But if circumstance, either by death or anything, and is by the mother, but be careful. Let that lady has input of men, elders, people that she can listen to. She'll enter a family that only the women dominate, with due respect for women. Huh. Oga, Oga. So we went on, but when we got home, I wasn't happy. And one day we had argument, and couples argument. Martina slapped me. Say, hey, I couldn't tell my mom because I said, so this is what people used to see in marriage. I thought marriage is, good couples disagree, but not violence. So I noticed something was up. And from there, there's this young friend, Eunice, the lady I wanted to marry. It was in Benue, and she was working with Ben. Ben had a telephone shop where he used to sell phones, and Eunice recommended that Abraham is good, or he used to repair phone, and that was how I met Ben, and that was how I started repairing phone. Chief D and Enche, Ben and Enche. He's late now. He was a pastor. He's late now. Man, that guy was really a great friend. So I was using the front of their house to repair phone, and to put then I was the first person. I started that phone repair with 150 naira. I bought the phone tools along I think New Market Road or so. New Market Road. Now I was the first phone repairer in Otukpo. I'm saying this because sometimes when we talk, I am not this loud person when it comes to showmanship. I hardly buy clothes, and those things don't really matter to me. I just live my life. So when people think I was some poor, like broke, of course I was not born with silver spoon, but I work hard for every penny I had. So I started phone repairs, and at one point, the bench shop was too small, and I moved to Channel 01. Nicholas Abogonye, and I think Nicholas was a great friend. Thank you, Nicholas. Maybe Nicholas we may even watch this video. So I'm calling names. And I moved to Channel 01. If you know Tupo very well, you know Channel 01. I had a shop then. I was repairing phone. At that point, I was well known in the whole of Otubo, down to Tukpa, the whole of that zone C, Oju. People will bring their phones. Now, I used to mount mast, this local mast. I had worked for David Mark. Sorry, not David Mark. Abamoru, Senator Abamoru. I've worked for him in his village. I mounted a mast for him with this, what we call base to base. He could make call from his uh, room, because then there was no signal. I had to get antenna yagi for him. I have worked for Fabagada. Then I think he was the caretaker chairman Ogbadi Boso. I went to his village. I did that for him. I'd worked for one caretaker chairman in Oju. I've worked for him. I've worked for prominent men of Bando Bay. I was the chairman of phone repairers in Otukpo. I was the chairman. So everybody, I remember a copper served in my shop. Now at that point, I had money. I had money because in a month we are making over 100 and something thousand. 2004. 2004. So think about it. 2004, 2005, we're making 150, 200, 300,000. I remember very well. I remember very well. At that point, my ex-wife was doing nothing. I just remained at home, take good care of the house. We had moved from my father's house, yes. We got 2 rooms on Yangede Street. I'm calling names. And from there, we got 1 bedroom flat. Now, I wasn't poor. If you ask anybody in Otukpo, then I was the envy of many young people, because with due respect to Idoma guys, most of them were practically lazy. But I was working early in the morning, I'm out. I travel, go to bushes. I used to go to Ankpa villages to work. villages to work. I remember there's this guy called Ayo. Used to be my weather. Then we used to mount mast, climb over 20, 100 and some 20 feet above the ground. I, I, there was nobody when it comes to phone repair that did not know me in Otubo. I trained a whole lot of people. Like I said, people did use service in my shop. Youth service, yes, youth service. I gave them certificate. Now it was at that point I set up a video club for my ex-wife. Set up a video club because I noticed that she was not doing anything, and why not she let me keep her busy. I set up a video club. I had at Channel 01, Nicholas Abogonye will bear me witness, and all the people I trained, all my staff, they will bear me witness. Set up a video club for her. She ran that video club down. She ran it down. Again, I remember the next shop before that place, I set up a restaurant for her. She ran it down. If she couldn't account for all the monies passing through her hand, she ran it down. I still had no issue with that because for me, she's my wife. But there was something I noticed about her, and that was lies. My ex wife can tell lies. I remember when we had our first daughter, Lillian. Her mother said nobody should touch that. How do whether leper or she used the word leper or dirty child? Nobody. If anybody if anybody comes to see my daughter, that person she will denounce the person. That was what her mother said. I remember her younger sister disobeyed and came. I think her grandmother came to see my daughter. And I remember what I went through in the hand of her mother. I remember vividly pain. Mother-in-law is on your neck, literally demanding like you are lazy and you are walking out your axe. Now, I took it. One day, Martina, we had a quarrel, and Martina packed her load. No, we had a quarrel. Her aunt was around, and the next thing, I don't know how she told her aunt. The aunt came to the house, said, "Pack your load." What is this one married? Pack your load, pack your load. Pack her load and left. I didn't tell them anything. I left her. And I think after some days, she came back. She went to call one of my pastor friend because then I was a pastor in Assemblies of God before I left them. So she knew some of them that used to come visit me. So she went and started begging that she's sorry. I said, no problem. Oh. You pack your load and left. I didn't do you anything. And you are coming back. No problem. Because she said Lillian was very sick when she left. I said, no problem. But let me say something. She told me. She said that is, in her lineage, she was the first girl that married formally, without maybe you got pregnant and the person that came to pay your bride price, or without maybe you got pregnant just for random men and you decided to keep the children. She was the first person that got married in her lineage, first person that got married. So uh, as a result of that, her siblings, everybody, they got jealous of her, even down to her mom. Like, hey, so you even her aunt. I remember her telling me how they will insult her and all of that. And I told her, look, for me, I believed in you, and that's why I married you. And if you can stay strong, let's build a home. We're having children now. We had Lillian, and we can build a home. In Otubo then, I was doing so well. Those that know me, we testify. I had a shop, full shop. Sometimes I can work till 8 p.m. I will resume maybe around 9 a.m. I travel to Enugu or Nature to buy materials. I had accessories. There was no phone repairer in Otupo that was not consulting me as of that time. And it was how did I leave Otupo for Abuja? We ran off with that story. My cousin brother had issue. He was into robbery, and they knew him with me. That alone wanted to malign my person. I left Tutubo. I left all my property under the custody of Martina. My younger brother was there. My mom was there. They were taking good care of Martina. I left Tutubo for Abuja to start a new life because I refused. I never wanted to associate myself with my cousin brother. But let me tell you what Martina did. When Martina was coming to Abuja to join me in 2006, 2007, Martina sold all my property. All. The only thing she took to my family house was, I think, this long chair, one of it, I think one, if I'm not mistaken, I want to be very sure. I think one, the TV, everything in that house, everything. I think the long chair or a mattress or so, everything, everything. I called my mom. I said, what? And I called Martina. She said, she just explained it away. That was how we moved to Abuja. I'm going to come to number part two next time. How through Martina I got I got into Dunamis Church and my experience. Thank you, and watch out for the part two. Please help me share this. Help me share this, please. Thank you so much.